for having me.
Your reaction to the announcement of this new funding system?
I honestly, at the start when I was brought attention to this matter, I was actually very excited. There's so many families in our group with complex diagnoses like Angelman syndrome, Down syndrome, and I was so glad that they finally got a chance to have support. But as we know, slowly that involves taking away some funding from kids who, quote unquote, seem to appear high functioning.
Right. And so Minister Wickens has said that the changes are going to deliver more direct financial support and community-based services to thousands more children in BC. Do you see it doing that?
I see there's merit to it, but I also think that there should be more transparency in terms of how these decisions are being made and how these programs are actually going to be rolled out. In fact, all 3 town halls, there's no mention of how assessments will be done, will they determine what are functional needs and what severity is. And that is majorly what parents are really reacting to.
So tell me what it's like, if you can, for families who are already supporting children with autism under the current funding model. What's life like for them?
Well, under 5 years old, you actually get $22,000 a year, and that you can actually. Part of the reason why we get that is because of the early intervention model, right? And we know that when we support children at this young age with therapies and all of that, it actually helps them feel more regulated and able to be better adjusted later on. So the $22,000 goes into occupational therapy, maybe physiotherapy, speech and language pathology, and family counseling, et cetera, et cetera. And the $22,000 individualized funding actually gives parents the flexibility to know what their kids need specifically and to pour more resources in that.
So how is that going to change then?
Well, now that we're all going to be, clearly they're taking away a lot of the funding for some of the families. And also, generally, I think the maximum amount that you're going to get is $17,000, and that's based on how severe your disability is. And overall, that's still less.
Right.
And, for me, for example, my daughter who's 6 now, we only get $6,000 a year. And every week we spend $400 on occupational therapy and SLP.
Right.
You can imagine that wouldn't really stretch very far. It gives us maybe 15 weeks of therapy, and everything else will have to come out of pocket. So if you're looking at that, seeing the vast, even if you get $17,000, it's still not going to stretch very far.
Right. And is is the cutoff that 5-year mark?
For the current model,
Yeah.
The one that they're launching is that you're going to keep getting the same amount over the years.
Okay.
But, cost of inflation, every year our therapy bill goes up.
Yeah.
And that funding remains stagnant.
And so what have you heard from families then on what they need to improve support for their kids? And what do you need as a parent to improve support for your child?
I think the question is probably, the idea that there are a lot of people out there that's conflating fairness with equity.
Yeah.
I think that this policy is saying that, everybody else will get a piece of the pie, right? But equity means that everyone should get the support they need to succeed. And I think.
With the restructuring of the old funding model and with disruptions in service as a result of all of this, how could that disrupt an autistic child's daily life right now?
That's a very good question. From the moment my daughter was diagnosed, all the professionals that I've met have told us that establishing a routine, helps our children feel more regulated
Yeah.
because they can predict what's going to happen next. And now this is going to take that away from them, right? We don't know what community programming or like services are going to look like. There's no actual transparency about how that's going to come about, and it really does feel like they're trying to figure it out as we go. And you know, that means severing relationships that we've built with professionals. My SLP and OT, we've been with them for as long as my daughter's been diagnosed.
Yeah.
And that means for us, we would then be funneled into a system where we don't have a relationship with somebody, and that's very disruptive to their routine
Yeah.
and safety.
So ultimately, then, what are you calling on, or the provincial government? I said they're in a difficult economic situation right now. We've got U.S. tariffs, we've got the housing market, we've got a $13 billion provincial deficit. You know, given all of those challenges, how would you prefer that the provincial government be allocating funds right now?
I would say this is probably a priority planning issue. You know, it's about allocating like resources, and I don't think clearly our children should be, you know, facing the brunt of this hit.
So ultimately, then, what is your ask of the province when it comes to supporting autistic kids?
Equity. I think you can't go into a situation knowing what each and every single family faces, and what may appear to look like low support does not really feel like that for the person who's experiencing it. Yeah. If I'm having a panic attack right now and you're looking at me, you don't think that I'm feeling it, but it's debilitating to me.
Yeah.
Right? So that's yeah, I think that I really just want to bring attention to that.
Sue, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate it. Sue Tang, the co-founder of Autism Family Friends.